Buying a small island for yourself is the dream of many rich people, a private resort that you can go to whenever you want, spend your vacations there, and still be reunited with the people you love. But even if you don't have enough money for it, with a little effort there is another, more affordable way to fulfill this dream: buying a small house on an island paradise. I'm sure you can enjoy it and relax enough. Hi guys, speaking of which, there are some islands that, despite their benefits, nobody is interested in. Beautiful nature, away from everything, just for you for a great price. And yet, not even one person wants to live there. Why is that? Welcome to this channel. Today we will show you another hot topic that will make you curious. Are you ready? Then let's get started. But first, subscribe to the channel and help this video reach more people who enjoy mysteries and amazing discoveries of our planet. Little Rock Island, Canada. Little Rock Island is a small, quiet island with a white sandy beach covered by a forest of beautiful green pine trees. This small island is protected from storms and hurricanes by other small islands around it. Its price for a cheap island, $74,500. Even if you are not a millionaire, it is not impossible. However, to this day, there is no buyer. Why is this? The biggest reason is the conditions for building a house. Nobody has ever lived on this island, so there is not even a building on it. If someone were to buy this island, they would have to not only build their house, but also install electricity and build a sewage system themselves. In the end, only a millionaire can afford to build such a structure. But the millionaire will prefer to buy a more practical island, so I think that the small one full of rocks will remain uninhabitable. Maatsuyker Island, Australia. There is a small island called Maatsuyker that lies on the shores of Tasman Island. The lighthouse, built in the year 1891, is the only construction on the island. Just out of curiosity, this lighthouse is the most southerly lighthouse in Australia. There are some rare animals that feel no fear of humans on the beautiful and magnificent islands of Maatsuyker. If you have always had the dream of feeding penguins and seals, come to this island. You can live with your beloved partner for free here on Maatsuyker Island. To do this, you only have to apply for the position of island guard and work there for 6 months. You are wondering if there are any traps in all this, aren't you? Of course there are. First, guard work on the island is unpaid. Second, housing is offered for free, but there are only 4 rooms beyond the 4 walls. In other words, you have to bring all the furniture yourself. Third, during this 6-month contract you are forbidden to go off the island. Also, no food is offered. To eat, you must grow food yourself, using the island's land. You will also not be able to use the internet for the 6 months, since there is no Wi-Fi on the island, and yes, no phone signal either. So, do you still want to live on Maatsuyker Island, or have you given up? The first vacancy announcement for Island Guard was made in 2016 and the application period was until January 20, 2017. I don't know if you had anyone who accepted the vacancy and agreed to all those rules. But one thing is for sure, to this day, the island has not had any resident yet, meaning that nobody wants to live on this island. Island Doxa, Croatia. Croatia is a small country located in southern Europe, but it is a country with a rich and interesting history and culture. It has a famous city, especially among tourists, which used to be the center of knowledge and art, called Dubrovnik. This city has also recently become known for being the recording location of an episode of Game of Thrones. Dubrovnik is a beautiful, small, quiet city, but it holds a dark secret. This secret can also be found on the island of Doxa, which is very close to the city. At the time of the Second World War, an organization called the Ustase of Croatia had united with Nazi Germany and had a lot of power. They are responsible for many terrible war crimes. The resistance that defeated them was the Liberation and Yugoslav army called the Partisan, which was supported by the Allied countries like the United States, England, and the Soviet Union. Once Partisan took control of Dubrovnik, many residents were sentenced to death with the excuse that they were supporting the Ustase and Nazis. The death sentences were carried out, and the stage for all this was the island of Doxa. Since then, the island has become famous in a bad way. Innocent people who were wrongly accused of crimes were executed. However, nowadays many people admit the fact that they were victims of a political strategy. They say that, to this day, spirits that want to erase the reputation of criminals are frightening, aren't they? Pitcairn Island. Imagine an isolated village typical of an American movie, where only a few houses and the people are extremely closed. And these people do not have a cultural life at all, but a lot of horrifying hidden secrets. And on top of that, this village is on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where to go anywhere that has culture, you have to spend days inside a ship. Can you imagine? This is Pitcairn Island. The base of colonization of this island was made by some British sailors who rebelled at the end of the 18th century. Today, the 60 residents of this island live a life totally isolated from civilization. Their society is closed, and it is a terrible secret on this island. In the early 20th century, many children were sexually abused. It was only after these incidents that a prison was built on the island. You wouldn't be surprised if someone told you that nobody wants to live on Pitcairn Island. The young people born and raised there go to New Zealand to go to college and never come back to the island. Currently there are only 7 residents under the age of 40. Now I understand why there is not one person who wants to move and become a new resident of this godforsaken island. Even though the residents of the island receive money offered to them by the government. Fort Carroll, United States. Fort Carroll, which stands on an artificial island near Baltimore, is synonymous with the word useless spending. It was built to be impenetrable and to protect the city from attacks from the sea. In the end, however, it never served any purpose. In the battles in 1864, the island was easily flooded and the squadron that was on standby on the island had to be moved elsewhere. Almost 100 years later, in 1958, the government started trying to sell the island, which was no longer any use to the normal population. There was a plan to build a casino on the island, but in the end it did not work out. In the end, even though you have this island for yourself, it will not make any profit and will be nothing more than a huge and useless place. That is why it currently remains the way it is. Many efforts have been made to try to sell the island of Fort Carroll, but with no results. Only the price keeps going down further and further. Tillamook Island, United States. Humans have built their own history while wrestling with nature. However, while we humans may be winning, but on Tillamook Island that is not so. Nature in that place is way above us. Tillamook Island is basically a reef composed of basalt that points out of the sea. In addition, a lighthouse was built with the hard-to-remember name called Terrible Tilly. In this lighthouse an accident had already occurred in the architectural phase. An engineer, who was the first person to arrive on the island, was thrown into the sea by a wave as soon as he had set foot on the island. Without fearing the rebellion of nature, somehow, the lighthouse was built to the end, but there wasn't much sense in building that lighthouse. The lighthouse broke down several times because of storms, and not to mention that setting up a telephone line on the island was also impossible. So when the people involved sold the Terrible Tilly in 1957, they could breathe a sigh of relief. The lighthouse became the property of a certain company that, in which, intended to use the lighthouse as a place to store funerary urns with the remains of ashes inside, but since this company went bankrupt, Tilly became government property again. However, since there was nowhere to take the funerary urns, they remained in the lighthouse. Today, this island is not wanted by anyone. The only means of transportation to the island is by helicopter, not to mention that the island has no value for commerce or tourism. And to make matters worse, the funerary urns left there bring an even more fucked up energy to the place. I don't think anyone who wants to buy or much less live on that island is going to show up anytime soon. And so our video for today ends here. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel, leave your likes and subscribe to the updates bell so you don't miss the next videos with incredible mysteries and curiosities. By the way, which island do you think is the most suitable to live in? Write your opinions in the comments and also tell us what you are currently interested in. We have 2 more amazing videos to tell you about. See you in the next video.